Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube segment, I want to be talking about alcoholism, and I'm going to share my thoughts on it. Now, as far as alcoholism goes, I saw an interesting stat online, is that 1 in 12 people approximately in the United States, nearly 18 million in the U.S., are alcoholics. And that was a very staggering, not just a prodigious number, but a staggering one. That's about 8%. And alcoholism, everyone has their own subjective view on it. Some people believe that if you have to have that drink, even if it's one per day, that could constitute alcoholism because of that dependency. And some see it as more stronger excessive drinking, that compulsion to have that compulsive need to be drinking, which would often be more than one drink per day. But the thing about alcoholism is everyone is entitled to do what they want with their life. They want to drink, they're at home. I understand it's their own business. In a lot of instances, though, it's not just detrimental to one's health, but it can adversely impact other people. I mean, you have people that are drinkers often will go to sporting events, and when someone drinks too much, they often lose their inhibitions, and they don't control their alcohol very well in a lot of instances, and they might instigate a fight with somebody that was just going to the ballpark, say, just to enjoy time with his or her family, to have to watch a ball game, but it can be disrupted by somebody that can't control their alcohol. Some other negatives are about obviously friendships and relationships. Now, it could have a profound impact as far as negatively impacting relationships with others. It could alienate people. It could be prominent family members. It could be friends. Thing about this is, and it's also what when I say this, it's just the adverse health effects that this could have on people as far as drinking strongly. Now, it's also it could even indicate comprehension of humor or understanding when somebody's joking or not. People might get defensive and misconstrue something that was an innocent joke as to something like a derogatory negative remark, for example. I knew somebody that had done drugs, for example, and and sometimes it wasn't that I was joking. I would say something in a way where I was making a generic statement, and he would take it to heart and would become very defensive. So I would imagine the same could apply potentially to people that are alcoholics. Now, the thing about this is, as far as the physical, as far as having adverse health problems, this is alcoholism has been linked to like manic depression and dementia. People, about 1 in 10 approximately, are alcohol associated or related. Now, can cause mental health issues, other mental health issues, such as say it could indicate people that at least act in a psychotic manner. The volatile behavior, acrimonious behavior, can be the result of excessive drinking. A lot of people feel that when they drink that it's something where it's going to help them deal with their problems. And the thing what people have to understand, it's a misconception, because it's not going to eradicate the problem. It helps people deal with things perhaps such as death, for example, or out of things that they did that they feel guilty or remorseful about. But people have to remember that a lot of times it'll actually manufacture or create additional problems, such as things that are detrimental to your health. What I'm saying really is our health issues. It could cause, and the alcoholism could increase. It could actually, as I stated before, about alienating others. this could actually, it's just kind of, it's ironic because in an attempt to deal with the problem, there are actually many people that try to quote unquote deal with the problem that way. They're actually they're escalating things perhaps, or they're causing actual, as far as escalation, increasing more problems for his or herself. Now, I haven't consumed alcohol for a very long time. I'm not even going to say when the last time I had any alcohol-related beverage, because hardly anybody will believe me anyway, but it has been a very long time. And I think a lot of it with me, a lot of it is attributed to the fact that I had a prominent family member drink excessively for a fairly protracted period, and I didn't want to replicate what that person did or how she acted, because many people can lose their inhibitions when they drink. And I think it really, what it is, it's about, there's more negatives than positives in association with drinking excessively. And it could also increase a propensity for criminal behavior. People often get this uncommon valor and courage when, after they consume a certain amount of alcoholic beverages. And I'm thinking, why can't one just summon the courage by his or herself without having to resort to that? And I had the person I want to get back to, as far as the drinking goes, that the prominent family member I was talking about before. I mean, I saw this person become belligerent, become angry, and just the kind of behavior that you see when someone acts like this. The blessing in disguise for me, that I had to witness that behavior, it gave me the incentive and impetus perhaps not to drink excessively at the very least, because I didn't want to duplicate that kind of behavior. I want to have the few friendships that I have, I want to retain. I don't want to alienate anybody. And people, don't get me wrong, I'm not condemning people that are alcoholics or drink. There are avenues, there are ways out for people. There are, as many of you know, Alcoholics Anonymous is one place where people can go for assistance with any kind of excessive drinking problem. There's, let's see if there's any others. There's another place, I mean, there are many places are going to have local rehab, rehabilitation places. There's something called the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. That could be another avenue for people. This is just, but when I say this also, what people have to be careful of is adverse interaction with medicines they may be taking. I'm currently taking some medicine for myself, some pain medicine that I take. I have a bad back. Many of you may have heard this in at least one or more videos that I've done. I have a protruding or bulging disc, and I also have extensive nerve damage. It's irrevocable damage to my arms. And the thing about it is, I take medicine for that, but the thing is, I don't want to risk combining the alcohol with that, because it could cause, it might intensify certain effects of the medicine. So that's another thing that pretty much curtails me from doing any kind of drinking. And I've just, my personality is such, and I'm not saying this to sound egotistical or arrogant in any way, shape, or form, but I believe that my personality is just very disciplined, where I'm able to have that aversion to drinking or recreational drugs. It's just not in my nature to go and do it, because I know what good is it going to do me doing that? It's not going to do anything beneficial for me, so I do avoid it. Now, for some signs or symptoms of people that have alcoholism, profuse sweating is one, trembling, sleeping difficulty. Now, the trembling, somebody told me this one time, that if somebody were to, sometimes they can tell when someone was alcoholic if they're hand was trembling when they're picking up a cup, like a cup of coffee. Now, I don't know if that's true in all cases, but I guess in one instance this person thought that was accurate. And also, the thing about it is people can become more combative and more ready to fight, whether it's through a verbal confrontation and or physical. And that's another thing. I've seen people become drunk and they just act in ways which was completely was such a contrast from how they acted when they weren't drinking. And I think that's another reason why I've decided to decline as far as alcohol goes. And this is also something where it could also lead to death potentially. It could lead to organ damage. Car accidents can come from alcoholism. You can inadvertently kill somebody or yourself if you're driving under the influence. The one thing I do laud law enforcement for doing what they can to crack down on drunk driving, and that is one positive that I do see. I mean, as far as ways of curtailing this kind of behavior, I honestly don't know the stats and if drunk driving has diminished or increased, but at least there are some methods where people are trying to do something about this, and they may be apprehending somebody and possibly bringing them to jail over this, but what people have to remember is that they are helping others, and it's by doing this and by maybe giving that person that was arrested perhaps some incentive to be at least more careful and assiduous as far as drinking and driving, or being as far as not being under the influence prior to operating a motor vehicle. So those are some things that I do. Like I said, I laud and honor the law enforcement policemen for going out and doing this and trying to make things safer for others. Now, another thing too is what people have to realize is that sometimes when people drink excessively, you'll find some of these people, of course, at bars, and some of these people are just going there just to look for fights and problems and be combative and aggressive, and could ruin a good time for somebody that's just there possibly to meet a woman, or watching something on TV, maybe a pay-per-view boxing event, perhaps like as many of you know, the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight that is coming up in May. And it's just what people have to realize is that this actually can hurt others. Now, and like I stated before, what people do in their own time is their own business, but I strongly state to you, if you are somebody that if you consider yourself alcoholic, please do something about it. I mentioned some resources previously in this video, and if you know somebody, or at least if you're suspicious of somebody that may be drinking heavily, of course get confirmation on this and make sure what the problem is. And if you can confirm this somehow, maybe try to help this person, even if it's leaving something, a pamphlet on at that person's home, like an Alcoholics Anonymous pamphlet or something connected with resources for alcoholism, even if it's something that you do maybe in kind of a subtle, discreet manner, not even if you're afraid to directly confront this person about it, because it's imperative that you get help for these people. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube segment on alcoholism, and until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.